want to start today with a specific image from the source material that really stuck with me. I want you to picture it. You have the standard establishing shot of a modern Asian metropolis, let's say Singapore or Bangkok.
Right.
It's all glass, steel, Marina Bay Sands, the kind of smart city futurism we love to talk about on here. But the report asks us to zoom in past the skyline into the old towns or the hidden corners of these districts.
Spaces where the economic velocity of the city hasn't quite reached yet.
Precisely. And in those shadows, you have a demographic, often elderly, often living alone, who are food insecure. But reading through the case studies, what hit me wasn't just the hunger, it was the logistics of the solution.
Wow.
Usually, if you're hungry and broke, you stand in a line, you queue up under the sun for a bag of rice or a boxed meal. It's visible, it's public.
It's the poverty tax, really.
Yeah.
A tax on your time and your dignity. We often look at food aid as, a pure supply chain issue, getting calories from point A to point B. But we forget the friction of that last mile.
Which in this case is a psychological barrier.
It is. Standing in that line is a public admission of failure, especially in a society that prizes success. And the data actually shows that shame is a massive deterrent. People will literally go hungry rather than be seen in that queue.
Which brings us to the core of today's deep dive. We're looking at a project that completely re-engineers that whole interaction. The source material calls it the locker of dignity.
Or I love this, the locker that breathes.
Yes. And on the surface, it just looks like a standard Amazon pickup locker or, a parcel station at a train station. But the way it's deployed is disrupting the entire charity model.
It's a fascinating case study because it takes existing cold technology, metal boxes, IoT sensors, QR codes, and just repurposes it for a very warm outcome. It decouples the aid from the stigma.
I really want to unpack the user experience side of this first because the sources place a huge emphasis on it. In the traditional model, there's this power dynamic.
Of course.
You have the benevolent giver and the grateful receiver. The receiver often feels like they need to perform gratitude, to smile, to look deserving.
It's transactional, but in an emotional sense.
But with the locker of dignity, that dynamic just evaporates. The user walks up to a machine, it's clean, it's quiet, they scan a QR code, maybe punch in a pin.
A door opens.
The door opens, they take the food, and they leave. The report uses the phrase, no questions, no staring eyes. It mimics the feeling of picking up an online order. You're not a charity case, you're just a user collecting a parcel.
That shift is profound. It moves the entire interaction from asking for help to accessing a service. And from a behavioral psychology perspective, that autonomy is absolutely critical.
Right.
But there is another layer to this dignity aspect that goes beyond just the interface. It's about the product itself.
Okay, this was the part that really surprised me. My assumption, and I think the general public's assumption about food lockers or pantries, is that they're clearinghouses for non-perishables.
Canned beans, instant noodles.
Exactly. Maybe some bread that's nearing its expiry date.
That's the standard food drive model.
Right.
It's often calorie dense, but nutrient poor.
But this project taps into a completely different supply chain. The source material outlines a partnership with luxury hotels and high-end catering services.
So we're not talking about scraps off a plate here.
Not at all. We're talking about the surplus from Premium Buffet,
which is a massive resource stream that usually just ends up in a landfill. Think about a 5-star hotel breakfast buffet. At 10:30 a.m., they have to clear it all. There might be trays of high-quality protein, fresh vegetables, gourmet pasta.
Food that's never been touched.
Never been touched by a customer. But it can't be served again because of internal hotel standards.
The legal and safety framework here must be intense, though. You can't just take warm chicken from a buffet and toss it in a locker 3 hours later.
No, absolutely not. And that's where the manufacturing element comes in. The report details a pretty rigorous process. Volunteers or staff take this surplus, and it undergoes immediate blast chilling or rapid cooling to stabilize it.
Okay.
It's then repackaged into single-serving meals that look like something you'd buy at a nice deli.
That packaging really matters. Opening a locker to find a dented can feels like a handout, but opening a locker to find a sealed restaurant-quality meal of roasted duck with rice, that sends a totally different message, a message of worth.
It tells the recipient, you deserve to eat well. It validates their humanity. But to your earlier point about safety keeping that food safe, once it leaves the hotel and sits in a locker on a street corner, that is a significant engineering challenge.
Right, and this is where we need to geek out on the hardware a bit. The locker that breathes. I love that name. It implies it's alive.
It's active.
It's active. The sources specify that these aren't just insulated boxes, they're active solar-powered refrigeration units.
Which is non-negotiable in a tropical climate like Singapore or Thailand. You have to have cold chain integrity all the way to the endpoint. The breathing refers to that active circulation of cool air.
And it's often powered by solar panels on the roof of the unit.
Often, yeah. And this allows the units to be deployed off-grid to some extent, or at the very least, it reduces the operational cost significantly.
But the smart locker isn't just about temperature control. The IoT, the Internet of Things integration, seems to be the operational backbone here.
Yes.
From what I gathered, this is what solves the empty pantry problem.
Which is a huge issue in traditional distributed charity. Imagine walking 2 kilometers to a community pantry only to find it empty. That's a devastating waste of time and energy for someone who has very little of both.
So the system is bidirectional.
Yes. The lockers are likely equipped with internal telemetry sensors that know which compartments are full and which are empty.
And they broadcast this data back to a central dashboard.
Exactly. This allows the logistics team to run a demand-driven supply chain. They know exactly which neighborhood is consuming food the fastest and can route refills accordingly.
It also allows for the 247 access model. This is something the report highlighted as a major benefit over soup kitchens.
Which have operating hours.
They have operating hours. If you're working a shift during lunch or taking care of grandkids, you miss out.
The time constraint is a form of exclusion. By automating the distribution, you give the recipient control over their own schedule. They can pick up dinner at 11 p.m. or 5 a.m. The machine doesn't care. It's always there, keeping the food safe.
So we have this proven model in Singapore. Premium food rescue, cold chain lockers, dignified access. Now, the source material pivots to this really interesting brainstorming session on how to adapt this for Thailand.
And this isn't just a copy-paste job.
Not at all. The infrastructure and the geography of a city like Bangkok are totally different.
Thailand presents a unique set of variables. You have the kitchen of the world status, so the volume of food is astronomical. But you also have this sprawling, congested urban layout that makes logistics an absolute nightmare.
The report identifies strategic locations for these lockers that align with the specific flow of Bangkok life. The first one is mass transit, the BTS SkyTrain, and the MRT subway stations.
Which is brilliant in its simplicity.
It is, right.
In Bangkok, the BTS stations are the arteries of the city. Everyone from CEOs to daily wage laborers passes through them. By placing lockers there, you're intercepting the recipient during their natural daily commute.
They don't have to make a special trip to a poor neighborhood or a charity center. It's just a stop on the way home. It integrates the aid into the normalcy of daily life.
Totally.
The other location strategy mentioned is the residential underbelly, placing them underneath condominiums or in the high-density areas that often exist right in the shadow of luxury developments.
This targets the hidden poor. In many Asian megacities, inequality is vertical. You have luxury condos towering over older, low-income communities. So placing the lockers there literally bridges that physical gap.
But here is where the proposal gets really innovative and honestly a bit complex: the supply side placement. The report suggests installing these lockers in department store parking lots and loading zones.
This is all about capturing the waste at the source. Think about a massive Bangkok, Mall Siam Paragon, or Central World. The food court alone generates an incredible amount of surplus. If you have a locker of dignity sitting right in the staff parking lot, the friction for donation just drops to zero. A vendor wraps the food, walks 50 meters, scans a code, and deposits it.
Okay, so you capture the food at the mall, but the people who need it are at the MRT station or the housing complex 5 kilometers away. And anyone who has been to Bangkok knows that 5 kilometers can take an hour in traffic.
Or more.
Or more. This is where the source material introduces the concept of micrologistics innovation using food delivery riders.
This is definitely the most ambitious part of the Thailand adaptation. The city is already swarming with Grab, linemen, and food panda riders. They are the circulatory system of this city.
So the proposal is to use the empty leg of their journeys.
The empty leg, right. The time they spend driving back from a delivery or just waiting for the next order.
Okay, I see.
Correct. Instead of building a whole dedicated fleet of charity vans, which is expensive and slow, you gamify the existing network. So if a rider is near a mall with surplus food and they happen to be heading toward a residential zone with a locker, they get a notification.
Pick up package at Central World, drop off at On Nut Station.
But why would they do it? I mean, these guys are working on razor-thin margins. They need to make money.
That's the critical question. The source discusses incentives. It can't just be altruism. The suggestion is a point system or maybe a benefits package,
So completing these rescue runs contributes to their platform ranking.
or earns them gas credits or unlocks insurance perks, something like that. You have to integrate the charity work into the gig economy value structure.
It effectively turns every motorcycle rider into a potential food rescue agent.
It's a decentralized distribution network that scales instantly.
I have to play devil's advocate here. We are talking about moving cooked food on the back of a motorcycle in Bangkok traffic in 35-degree heat?
The climate challenge. It is the single biggest risk factor, no question. Because if that rider gets stuck in a jam for 45 minutes, that premium hotel buffet food becomes a bacterial time bomb. The source material is very specific about the safety protocols needed here.
It absolutely has to be fail-safe. The report emphasizes that smart isn't enough. It has to be proactive. First, the packaging has to be thermal grade. But more importantly, the IoT integration we talked about earlier needs to extend to the rider's journey and the receiving locker.
You mean the locker needs to know if the food is spoiled before someone takes it out?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The locker that talks needs to be able to reject a delivery. If the transit time exceeds a safety threshold, or if temperature sensors on the package indicate a breach, the locker system should refuse to open for that deposit.
Wow.
Or on the other end, if the internal temperature of the locker itself rises because of a power outage, the system has to automatically lock all the doors to prevent anyone from taking unsafe food.
So the technology acts as the health inspector.
It has to. In a tropical environment, the margin for error with cooked food is zero. The kill switch is just as important as the open switch.
It's intense to think about the level of coordination required here. You need the hotels, the volunteers, the tech vendors, the mall owners, the delivery platforms, the transit authorities, all of them synced up.
It is a complex ecosystem, no doubt. But when you step back and look at the synthesis of it, it's actually remarkably elegant. You have a massive surplus, problem food waste, and a massive deficit, problem hunger.
And the resources exist, they're just in the wrong place.
Exactly. And the bridge between them is this stack of technology, solar, IoT, algorithms.
It's funny, we often critique smart cities for being cold or technocratic. We worry about surveillance or automation taking jobs. But this case study really flips that narrative.
It does. Here, the technology is the tool that restores warmth.
It effectively automates empathy. It allows the generosity of the haves to reach the have-nots without the friction of logistics or the barrier of shame.
And it changes the landscape of the city itself. A locker at a train station isn't just a piece of infrastructure anymore. It becomes a civic statement. It says, in this city, we don't waste food and we don't let people go hungry.
It brings up a question posed near the end of the source material that I found really powerful. It asks us to reevaluate our metrics for urban success. If we can turn food waste into happiness that can be shared equally, how much more livable would our cities become?
That's the ultimate metric, isn't it? Livability isn't just about GDP or train efficiency. It's about the baseline dignity of the most vulnerable person in that city.
It's a challenge to you, the listener, too. Next time you pass a construction site or a row of lockers or see a delivery rider weaving through traffic, think about the invisible connections there. Think about how those existing systems could be tweaked, just slightly, to solve a deeply human problem.
Innovation doesn't always mean inventing something new from scratch. Sometimes, like with the Locker of Dignity, it just means arranging the pieces we already have in a more compassionate way.
That is a perfect place to leave it. A huge thank you to the creators behind the Locker of Dignity concept for giving us so much to think about. And thank you, our listener, for diving deep with us today.
Keep looking for the human angle in the tech.
See you on the next one.